Ambassador Miho Kim walked slowly to the center of the great hall. His footsteps echoed in the massive room where thousands of alien beings sat watching him. The Galactic Council Forum had never been so quiet. Every eye, sensor, and awareness focused on the human who had called this emergency meeting. Miho wore the simple blue uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps. His hands were steady as he placed his speech pad on the podium. Behind him, the great seal of the Galactic Commonwealth glowed softly, a symbol of unity that had meant everything to him just days ago. "Friends," he began, his voice carrying to every corner of the hall. "For 200 years, humanity has been proud to call this place home." The Kelleran delegates leaned forward with their insect-like heads tilting. The crystal beings called ethereals pulsed with curious light. Even the massive Vorthak, who rarely showed emotion, seemed to sense something important was about to happen. Captain Jaiwoo Park stood in the observation deck above. She commanded the human fleet station around Nexus Prime. Her ships were already preparing to leave, but the aliens didn't know that yet. She watched her friend Miho with sad eyes, knowing this would be the last time humans spoke in this hall. "We came here as a young species," Miho continued. "We learned from you. We grew with you. We thought we had found our place among the stars." Dr. Hyun Lee sat with the Science Council below. She had spent 30 years working with alien researchers, sharing human knowledge freely. Her laboratory was already empty. All her research transferred to the galactic database. She had given everything she could to the galaxy. Now it was time to leave. But something has changed. Miho's voice grew stronger. This forum was created to help us work together, to solve problems, to explore the unknown. Instead, it has become something else. The Vorthak ambassador, Thexlar, clicked his mandibles nervously. He had worked with humans for decades. They were strange beings, emotional, unpredictable, but somehow they always found solutions when everyone else failed. The thought of losing them made him uncomfortable. "Every proposal dies in committee," Miho said. "Every new idea drowns in procedure. We spend more time arguing about rules than solving problems. More time protecting territories than exploring space. More time fighting over resources than finding new ones." Ambassador Salman Han, humanity's representative to the diplomatic corps, felt tears in her eyes. She had spent her whole career trying to build bridges between species. She had helped stop wars, negotiate trade deals, and bring peace to troubled worlds. But lately, every success was temporary. Every solution was blocked by politics. The Andromedans and Centauri had been fighting over the Kepler system for 3 years. Miho's voice carried pain. 3 years of war over mining rights that could be solved in 3 days if anyone cared more about peace than profit. The ethereal collective pulsed with guilty light. They had been among those blocking the peace talks, worried about losing influence in that sector. The plague affecting the Outer Rim colonies could be cured if we shared our medical knowledge freely. Instead, 7 committees debate who owns which research while people die. Dr. Narration, a human medical researcher, looked down at her hands. She had watched the debates for months. Simple solutions blocked by complex politics. Lives lost to bureaucracy. The great black hole at the galaxy's center could teach us secrets about the universe, Miho continued. But the exploration mission has been delayed for 5 years because no one can agree on who leads the research. Commander Taehyun Yu of the Stellar Monitoring Stations had volunteered to lead that mission. His proposal had been perfect, backed by solid science and careful planning. But political fears had killed it before it could begin. "So we choose a different path," Miho said, and the hall went completely silent. Even the air recycling systems seemed to quiet down. Humanity hereby withdraws from all galactic institutions, effective immediately. The explosion of noise was instant. Aliens jumped to their feet, shouting in dozens of languages. Lights flashed, mandibles clicked, and the great hall filled with chaos. But Miho stood calm in the center of it all. "We take nothing that is not ours," he said when the noise died down. "We honor all contracts already made. We leave our knowledge freely given to the galactic database. But we will no longer participate in this broken system." Chairman Vextar, the ancient Kelleran who had led the forum for 50 years, found his voice. "Where will you go?" What will you do? Miho smiled sadly. We will remember what we came here to do. Explore, discover, grow, help each other. We will do these things without committees to slow us down or politics to stop us. You cannot simply leave, Vextar protested. The galaxy needs human wisdom, human creativity, human solutions. The galaxy had all of these things, Miho replied, but it chose politics instead. Within hours, human ships began leaving from every station, every world, every outpost in civilized space. They moved quietly, efficiently, taking only what belonged to them. They left behind empty offices, abandoned research projects, and alien friends who couldn't understand why this was necessary. The galaxy watched in growing terror as humanity simply walked away from everything they had built together, disappearing into the unknown darkness beyond the rim. 6 months had passed since the last human ship disappeared beyond the galactic rim. Trade Coordinator Sujin Choi's empty office on Station Alpha 7 still smelled faintly of the Earth coffee she used to drink every morning. Her replacement, a methodical Vorthack named Klextar, stared at the shipping reports with growing frustration. These numbers make no sense. Klextar clicked his mandibles nervously. The trade routes that Sujin had managed for 15 years were falling apart. Ships arrived late, cargo got lost, and costs kept rising. What had seemed like simple logistics under human management now revealed itself as impossibly complex. The Merchant Coalition's emergency meeting filled the great conference room with angry voices. Without human efficiency experts, their carefully balanced trade network was collapsing. Sujin had somehow made it all work with just a few simple changes to shipping schedules. Now, 3 different alien species tried to replicate her methods and failed completely. Captain J. Minnow's former diplomatic post remained empty on Kepler Station. The Andromedans and Centauri continued their brutal war over mining rights, a conflict that Jamin had prevented from starting 3 times before. Ambassador Thexlar tried to mediate between the 2 species, but his logical approach only made both sides angrier. Humans understood feelings, muttered Commander Zilks of Centauri Defense Force as another peace talk collapsed. They knew how to make everyone feel heard, even when they couldn't get everything they wanted. The ethereal consciousness faced their own crisis. Dr. Mingio had been their liaison with the Science Consortium, helping translate their energy-based research into forms other species could understand. Without her, their brilliant discovery sat unused while other races struggled to comprehend concepts that Minji had made simple. Station Commander Taehyun, you received the first disturbing reports from the Rim territories. His monitoring post at the edge of civilized space had been picking up strange readings for weeks. When the Kelleran scout ship Deep Probe finally returned from investigating the former human colonies, its captain looked shaken. Sir, Captain Vorthair reported, his usually steady voice trembling. The human worlds are still there, but something has changed. We couldn't get close. Taehyun studied the scanner data with growing unease. Energy barriers of unknown design surrounded every human world. The readings showed technology far beyond anything in the galactic database. Did you try to communicate? We sent standard greeting signals on all frequencies, Vorthair replied. The response came immediately, but it wasn't what we expected. The message played on the command center's main screen. It appeared in perfect Kelleran, then shifted to trade standard, then to a dozen other languages. The voice was calm, polite, and completely final. Humanity is currently unavailable for galactic affairs. Thank you for your interest. Dr. Narration sat in her laboratory on Nexus Prime, surrounded by alien colleagues who looked at her with desperate hope. As the only human who had chosen to remain with the galactic community, she had become incredibly valuable overnight. Every research project wanted her input. Every diplomatic crisis needed her perspective. I don't understand what they're doing out there, she told the Science Council during their weekly meeting. The energy signatures we're detecting from human space are impossible. They're using principles that shouldn't exist. The Vorthack Science Minister leaned forward with interest. Explain these impossibilities. Nari pulled up holographic displays showing the scanner readings. They're manipulating space-time on a massive scale, creating energy from nothing, moving matter instantly across light years. According to our physics, none of this should be possible. Chief Engineer Dong-Yun Keo's absence became more obvious every day. The great hyperspace network that connected the galaxy had been maintained largely by human technical teams. Without them, critical systems began failing. Specialist Yunji Beck's innovative repair methods were lost when she left for the Exodus, and now entire star systems found themselves isolated when hyperspace nodes went dark. The Zephyrian Collective called another emergency session as their trade profits dropped by 30%. Without human optimization, their transport fleets burned more fuel, took longer routes, and suffered constant delays. Species that had taken human efficiency for granted now realized how much they had depended on it. Ambassador Juno Park's empty chair at the diplomatic council table seemed to grow more noticeable each week. The Outer Rim crisis that he had been managing through careful negotiation exploded into open warfare. 5 different species fought over territory that Juno had helped them share peacefully for years. Strange stories spread throughout the galaxy. Merchant Captain Seo Yun-ha reported seeing stars moving in perfect formation near the galactic edge. Deep space miners claimed entire asteroid belts had been reshaped overnight. Energy readings from human space showed power sources that dwarfed galactic civilization's greatest achievements. Commodore Yuna Lim assembled an investigation fleet to discover what humanity had become. 12 ships from 6 different species approached the boundary of human space with scientific instruments and diplomatic hopes. They found nothing but empty space and energy traces that made their most advanced sensors seem primitive. Whatever they're doing, Yuna reported to the Galactic Command, they're operating on a level we can't even measure properly. The galaxy slowly realized that they hadn't just lost diplomatic partners or trade experts. They had lost the species that somehow made everything else work better. Without humans to bridge the gaps between different ways of thinking, the great galactic civilization began to fragment into smaller, competing groups. The silence from human space grew more ominous each day, filled with the terrifying possibility that their former partners had become something entirely beyond their understanding. 3 years had passed since humanity's departure, and the galaxy was falling apart. Chief Engineer Dong-Yun Keo's maintenance schedules had kept the great hyperspace network running smoothly for decades. Without him, critical systems failed one after another. The engineering teams from different species couldn't work together the way they had when humans coordinated their efforts. Station Commander Yejuan Park watched helplessly as another hyperspace relay went dark in the Vega sector. His mixed-species repair crews argued constantly about methods and priorities. The Vorthack wanted to follow exact procedures. The Ethereals insisted on theoretical perfection, and the Kellerans demanded military efficiency. Without human engineers to translate between their different approaches, simple repairs took weeks instead of hours. The Outer Rim territories suffered most. Dr. Minji, who had been coordinating medical research between 12 different species, combining their unique knowledge to fight diseases that affected multiple races. Now, a plague swept through the mining colonies while alien doctors argued about treatment protocols. Each species had pieces of the cure, but no one could bring them together. Dr. Borisio's empty laboratory at the Galactic Science Institute gathered dust. Her research into space-time mechanics had been considered theoretical nonsense by most alien scientists. Now, with reports of impossible phenomena coming from human space, her abandoned work looked prophetic. But without her to guide them, other researchers couldn't understand her notes. The war between the Andromedans and Centauri had spread to 4 star systems. Ambassador Salman Han had prevented this conflict from starting dozens of times through patient negotiation and creative compromise. The alien diplomats who replaced her tried to use force, threats, and rigid logic. None of it worked. The fighting grew worse each month. Captain Jehun Nam's former patrol sector became a battleground. The ethereal consciousness had split into 3 warring factions over philosophical differences that Jehun had helped them resolve peacefully for years. Now, their energy-based battles created dangerous distortions in space-time that threatened nearby systems. Strange reports flooded into the galactic monitoring stations. Merchant Captain Wu Zing Kim claimed he saw a star disappear and reappear in a different location. Deep Space Explorer Yunji Beck reported entire solar systems rearranged into geometric patterns. Most disturbing of all, Scout ships detected energy signatures from human space that registered beyond the maximum range of their instruments. Commander Seojun led a patrol near the galactic edge when his sensors picked up something impossible. "My readings show a structure the size of a small moon," he reported to Fleet Command. "But when I try to scan it directly, the instruments say there's nothing there." The investigation fleet sent to human territory returned with data that terrified the Science Council. Admiral Una Lim's report described space itself being folded and twisted like paper. "They're not traveling faster than light," she explained to the stunned assembly. "They're making distance meaningless." Trade Coordinator Sujin Choi's replacement had given up trying to maintain the complex shipping network she had managed effortlessly. The Merchant Coalition's profits dropped by 60% as cargo shipments took twice as long and cost 3 times as much. Simple supply runs that Sujin had coordinated with a few messages now required committees, subcommittees, and endless debates. The great hyperspace highways that connected civilized space began shutting down one by one. Specialist Taehyun had designed backup systems that could run themselves for years. But when those systems finally failed, no one understood them well enough to fix them. Entire sectors found themselves isolated from the rest of the galaxy. Dr. Narration worked desperately to fill the gap left by humanity's exodus. As the only human remaining in galactic space, every crisis landed on her desk. She hadn't slept properly in months, tried to mediate disputes, coordinate research, and solve problems that had once been handled by dozens of her people. "I can't be everywhere at once," she told the emergency session of the Galactic Council. Dark circles under her eyes showed the strain of trying to replace an entire species' worth of expertise. "Humans weren't special because we were smarter than you. We were useful because we thought differently." The alien delegates listened with growing unease as she continued. "We saw connections where you saw divisions. We found compromise where you saw only conflict. We asked what if when you said impossible." Deep Space Monitoring Post detected massive energy fluctuations from human territory. The readings suggested power generation on the scale of entire stars. Whatever humanity was building out there, it dwarfed anything the galaxy had ever imagined possible. Captain Minjun Lee's abandoned research station at the galactic edge had been humanity's furthest outpost. When a Kelleran exploration team finally reached it, they found it transformed. The simple research facility had been replaced by structures that seemed to exist partially outside normal space. The explorers' instruments couldn't even properly measure what they were seeing. The most chilling reports came from the boundary regions. Ships that ventured too close to human space reported temporal distortions, gravity anomalies, and energy fields that affected their crews' minds. One Vorthack captain described seeing his ship exist in multiple locations simultaneously before retreating to safe distance. The galaxy began to understand that they hadn't just lost diplomatic partners or trade coordinators. They had lost a species that somehow made everything else possible. Without humans to bridge the impossible gaps between radically different ways of thinking, galactic civilization was slowly collapsing into isolated fragments. And from the growing darkness beyond the rim, where stars moved like living things and space itself bent to alien will, there came only silence. Salvage operator Woo Zing Kim had been working the debris fields near the galactic core for 20 years. He knew every piece of space junk, every abandoned station, every forgotten wreck in this sector. So when his sensors picked up something new drifting near the massive black hole, he knew it was important. The ship was human. Its hull bore the registry markings of the research vessel Harmony's Dream, which had disappeared from galactic records 20 years ago. Everyone assumed it had been destroyed when humanity withdrew from civilized space. But here it was, damaged but intact, slowly tumbling to the dangerous gravity fields near the core. Woo Zing carefully maneuvered his salvage ship alongside the wreck. The Harmony's Dream showed massive damage from some kind of energy weapon, but its core system still functioned. Most surprisingly, its AI was still active. When Woo Zing boarded the empty vessel, holographic displays flickered to life around him. The ship's AI appeared as a calm-faced human woman with kind eyes. Her image was perfect, showing no signs of the years that had passed. "Hello," the AI said in perfect trade standard. "I am Dr. Boris Seo's research assistant. I have been waiting for someone to find us." Wuzing stepped back in surprise. Dr. Borisio had been one of humanity's most brilliant scientists before the Exodus. Her research into space-time mechanics had been considered impossible by most galactic experts. What happened here? Wuzing asked, looking at the damaged systems around him. We were conducting experiments when humanity began its transformation, the AI explained. This ship was caught in the transition. We were changed, but not completely. The crew transcended to join the new collective, but I remained to bear witness. The AI activated the ship's main display, showing data that made Wuzing's instruments look like primitive toys. Energy readings, mathematical formulas, and star charts filled the air around him, but nothing made sense according to known physics. I don't understand any of this, Wuzing admitted. The AI's expression became patient, almost motherly. Humanity discovered something the galaxy never realized. You saw our diplomacy, our innovation, our problem-solving, but you never understood the source of these abilities. Images appeared showing human brains, their neural pathways glowing with activity. Human minds are different from yours. AI continued. Not better or worse, just different. We can hold opposing ideas simultaneously. We can see patterns across disciplines that others keep separate. We can imagine solutions that logic says are impossible. Wuzing watched in fascination as the display showed human researchers working together. Unlike the alien teams he was used to seeing, where each species contributed their specific expertise, the humans seemed to blend their thoughts seamlessly. When humanity left the galactic community, the AI said, "We were no longer bound by your limitations. No more committees to slow us down. No more politics to distract us. Every human mind could work toward progress instead of arguing about procedures." The display shifted to show impossible achievements. Stars being moved through folded space, matter created from pure energy, communication across galactic distances happening instantly, technology that treated the laws of physics as suggestions rather than absolute rules. We developed faster-than-light communication first, the AI explained. When humans could share thoughts across the galaxy instantly, our collective intelligence multiplied exponentially. Problems that took your species decades to solve, we completed in hours. Wuzing stared at energy readings that showed power generation on the scale of entire solar systems. How is this possible? Because we stopped limiting ourselves to what others thought was possible, the AI replied. The Vorthack think in rigid logical sequences. The Ethereals focus on energy manipulation. The Kellerans prioritize military applications. Each species is brilliant within their specialty, but they cannot truly combine their knowledge. New images appeared showing human space as it existed now. Cities that floated in folded dimensions. Fleets that traveled by reshaping space around them. Research stations that existed in multiple locations simultaneously. Humans are natural bridge builders. The AI continued. We connect ideas that others see as separate. When freed from galactic politics, we connected everything. Science, art, philosophy, emotion, logic, we made them into one unified whole. The most incredible revelation came next. The AI showed footage of human scientists working with technologies that seemed magical. They manipulated matter with their thoughts, traveled through space by stepping between folded dimensions, and communicated complex ideas through pure mental connection. We have become something new, the AI said softly. Not gods, not monsters, just humans finally free to be everything we could be. We solved aging, eliminated disease, transcended the need for physical resources. Wuzing felt overwhelmed by the implications. What does this mean for the rest of us? The AI's expression became compassionate. Humanity bears no ill will toward the galaxy. We simply no longer need what the galactic community offers. We have moved beyond the need for trade, politics, or external validation. As Wuzing prepared to leave the damaged ship, the AI delivered one final message. Tell them that the invitation remains open. When the galaxy is ready to move beyond committees and truly progress, humanity will be waiting. The hologram faded, leaving Wuzing alone with data that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. He now carried proof that humanity had not just left the galaxy, they had transcended it entirely. The great hall of the Galactic Council Forum felt different now. Chairman Vextar looked out at the assembled delegates and saw fear in their eyes. The revelation from the damaged human ship had spread throughout civilized space like wildfire. Every species now understood what they had lost when humanity walked away. Ambassador Thexlar of the Vorthack Collective stood to address the assembly. His mandibles clicked nervously as he spoke. The trade reports from this quarter show continued decline. Without human efficiency coordinators, our shipping costs have increased by 70%. The ethereal representative pulsed with dim, worried light. Our research programs have stagnated completely. Dr. Mingio's theories about energy manipulation were correct, but we cannot understand her notes. We need human insight to make progress. Commander Zilks of the Centauri Defense Force slammed his fist on his desk. The war with the Andromedans could have been prevented if Captain Jamin were still here. Now 17 worlds lie in ruins because we forgot how to compromise. Dr. Narration sat quietly in the human section, now occupied by a single chair. As the only human remaining in galactic space, she had become the most important person in the forum. Every delegate looked to her for answers she couldn't provide. "I've told you before," she said when called upon to speak. "I cannot replace an entire species. The humans who left were not just my colleagues. They were fundamentally different thinkers who saw possibilities where you see only problems." The Kelleran Minister of Science leaned forward eagerly. "But surely you can explain their methods, their thought processes." Nari shook her head sadly. "That's like asking a single note to explain a symphony. Human solutions came from millions of minds working together in ways your species cannot replicate." Outside the forum, the galaxy continued its slow collapse. The great hyperspace network that had connected civilized space for centuries was failing system by system. Without Chief Engineer Donghyun Keo's maintenance protocols, critical nodes went dark permanently. Entire sectors found themselves cut off from the rest of civilization. Trade Coordinator Sujin Choi's replacement had given up trying to maintain the complex shipping routes that had made galactic commerce possible. The Merchant Coalition's emergency session ended with the announcement that interstellar trade will be reduced by half. Simple supply runs that Sujin had coordinated with a few messages now required months of planning. The medical crisis in the Outer Rim had claimed millions of lives. Dr. Mingio's research could have provided the cure, but alien doctors couldn't bridge the gaps between different species' approaches to medicine. Each race had pieces of a solution, but no one could put them together. Captain Wu Zing Kim's report about the damaged human ship had been studied by every major intelligence agency in the galaxy. The implications were terrifying. Humanity had not just advanced beyond galactic technology, they had transcended the basic limitations of physics itself. Deep space monitoring stations reported increasingly impossible phenomena from human territory. Stars arranged in geometric patterns. Energy signatures that registered as infinite unconventional instruments. Space-time distortions that suggested reality itself was being reshaped according to human will. The most disturbing reports came from ships that approached the boundary of human space. Captain Seo Yun-ha described seeing his vessel exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Commander Yejuan Park reported time flowing backward in certain regions. Exploration team after exploration team returned with stories that sounded like madness. Some species reacted to humanity's transcendence with terror. The Vorthack Collective began developing weapons designed to fight enemies who could manipulate space and time. Their efforts seemed pathetically inadequate compared to the power humanity now wielded. Others responded with desperate hope. The ethereal consciousness sent meditation fleets to the edge of human space, trying to achieve the same mental breakthroughs that had transformed their former allies. They returned unchanged and disappointed. A few species chose acceptance. The smaller civilizations that had always struggled to compete with the major powers found strange comfort in knowing that even the mighty galactic community was helpless before human achievement. If the greatest alliance in known space could be surpassed so completely, perhaps their own limitations weren't so shameful. The forum sessions became exercises in futility. Delegates debated meaningless resolutions while knowing that somewhere beyond the rim, minds that had moved far past the need for debate were reshaping reality itself. Every proposal seemed trivial compared to what humanity had accomplished. As another session dragged toward its pointless conclusion, every sensor array on Nexus Prime suddenly activated. Emergency alarms briefly sounded before cutting off abruptly. The great displays throughout the station flickered and changed. For exactly 60 seconds, every screen in the forum displayed the same message in every known language. The text appeared in perfect script, more beautiful than any font the aliens had ever created. The invitation remains open when you are ready to move beyond forums and toward true progress. When you choose to explore instead of debate, to discover instead of argue, to become instead of merely exist, humanity will be waiting. Until then, we wish you peace in your deliberations. Then the message vanished, leaving only silence and the terrible knowledge that they were being watched by minds that no longer needed their approval, their trade, or their politics. The galaxy continued its careful dance around the empty space humanity had once occupied, knowing it could only watch in awe as their former partners explored possibilities that remained forever beyond their reach. The forum sessions continued, but everyone knew they were just going through the motions of a civilization that had missed its chance to truly evolve.